I'm outside on my patio, if you can't tell, and it's very hot, so everybody has their AC on. But I figured it was time for my first little update. So I am 75 pages in, and I just got to the part that I'm pretty excited for. So we're finally in the future. We're in the year 2203. This book starts out in 1912, and I'm not the biggest fan of books that take place in like the 20th century. I don't know why, I'm just not a big historical fiction fan. So I'm very excited to get to the futuristic time period. The main character, I think her name is Morella? No, that's a different storyline. It's been jumping around to different people. Olive, she's the author. Not the author of the book, but a character who plays an author, if that makes any sense. And she like lives on the moon. It's very interesting so far. It's kind of jumping around a little bit. I'm definitely interested in more of the science fiction side of it. And other than the mention of like a colony on the moon and like airships as a form of transportation, it hasn't been too science fiction yet, but there is time travel involved. So I'm excited. So let's get reading. Friends, time for another update. I am just sitting outside on my lunch break. I've got Zooms today for work, but it's actually surprisingly not miserably hot today, so I'm just enjoying my patio. I'm eating these dried sweetened strawberries. These are really good. I am like such a sucker for dried fruit. But anyway, I am like, what did we say, 3/4 of the way through, something like that. I'm on page 183. I just wanted to give a little update and say this feels very weird to read and very timely. The author directly references COVID-19. So if you, how should I say this? If COVID was really tough for you, I would say maybe skip this one because it honestly could be pretty triggering. If you want to read something about COVID-19 in book form because you think it might be cathartic, then go for it. It's so bizarre. I'm just trying to like figure out how I feel about it. So I'm on the way to the bookstore. I've got a bookstore, the one that I used to work at, like 15 minutes from where I live now. So did I just spit? I was sitting here trying to think, have I ever gone to a bookstore like just to pick up a single book on the day it came out? And for like 3 years, from 2017 to 2020, I worked at the bookstore, so I was going there anyway. So if there was new releases coming out, and there were a lot of really fun books, like Midnight Sun came out when I was working there. Fingers crossed it's as good as the first one. I may also go to Michael's. There's a Michael's craft store in the same shopping center that I'm going to. Let's see if they have Colorado stickers. Yellowstone, cross country travel, all 66. That's cute. Miami. Oh, I use these. Oh, my voice. When I went to the Caribbean in 2014. It's cute. Okay. Snowy Colorado. I went in the summer though. inside. Oh my god. Just eat him already. I know. Well, he's gonna jump out at me. I guarantee you he's gonna jump out at me. Did he go up here? Alright guys, it is time for the final review. Congrats if you made it this far in the video. I've actually already started my next book, which I think I mentioned earlier, right? Because yeah, the clips from me going to the bookstore should be in this video, but I picked up A Prayer for the Crown Shy. Super pumped. I've already read the first chapter, but before I get any further in that one, I was like, I need to, you know, pause and film my review for Sea of Tranquility. So overall, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The weird thing that happened when I was reading this book that has never happened with any of the other books that I have written about in my journal so far this year. This is my book annotating journal. I've mentioned it a couple times on my channel, but if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then you might not have seen this before. But the thing that I didn't do was I did not write down a single quote. So what I do when I take notes is typically a mixture of recapping or summarizing the actual story. So if I ever want to go back and be like, oh yeah, what was that about? What happened? I can read through a description, like a summary. And then I also write down quotes that I find really beautiful. And I didn't write anything down. So I don't know if that means, I mean, I guess I just didn't find any sentences really worthy of writing down, which is really crazy. I don't know. There was one particular scene I remember like relatively early on in the chapters from Olive Llewellyn's perspective. She's the author. She's honestly kind of the Emily St. John Mandel character, which is something I'll get into in a minute. A lot of it felt very autobiographical, which isn't like a big flaw, but it was just like very obviously kind of reflecting the author's own life, which just feels a little bit weird when they kind of break the fourth wall like that. But anyway, the only scene where I felt like there was a really like rich, beautiful description of something was when she's describing the moon colony for the first time, but that description is in the blurb, so it actually wasn't new. She's describing like how white and pristine the spires and everything that the moon colony is, like its architecture basically. So that's kind of weird. I do really remember liking Station 11. That book was gifted to me by the English department when I graduated with a BA in English Lit in 2017. I'd never heard of her before. I don't know if that's her first book or not. I don't think it is. But I remember really thinking that concept was unique. It's similar in the sense that it has to do with pandemics. So that's kind of her shtick. Essentially, I said if you like time travel, because this book does have to do a lot with time travel, you will like it. Because if you're someone who likes sort of at the end to see how all of the different time periods that the time travelers were like jumping to, how they all intertwine, like how those characters connect, and seeing how everything's kind of like braided together, then you will like it, because there was a lot of that. At the end, everything is kind of explained, and then you realize like, oh, that was this person the whole time, or you know, whatever. So if you like time travel books, I think you will like it. You'll probably give it a higher rating than I did. I didn't guess the twist, so that was good. Essentially the plot, it jumps around a lot in time, but it follows a glitch that has happened in the time-space continuum, and there's a lot of themes in there about what makes a world real, like what constitutes reality. Is a world and a life just as valuable to live in if it's just happening in your head, if it's all a simulation? There were a lot of big themes like that in here, and a lot of what felt just like cathartic writing for the author to kind of work out everything that's happened since 2020, because there is a female author character in the book. She has a husband and a daughter, just like the author does. She writes books about pandemics like the author does, so there was a lot of very similar, you know, breaking of the fourth wall, essentially, with the character of Olive Llewellyn. She is essentially Emily St. John Mandel. So I don't know if I liked that. I don't know if it bothered me. I think maybe I'm just indifferent to it. It's so obvious that it's like, I don't know, it's very on the nose, and I usually don't like that in books. when authors like are very clearly inserting things about their own lives. Overall, that's not really like a huge criticism that I have, but it's just something that you notice. It's just very obvious whenever those scenes come up. I said overall I liked Station 11 more. I think the concept was not necessarily more fleshed out. I think they're both well written, and they both handle those bigger themes pretty well. There was just something, I don't know, I felt like this one maybe had something lacking, or maybe I kind of missed the point, or maybe it just wasn't for me, even though I really do love science fiction. It just overall wasn't my favorite. I don't know. I don't want to say it fell flat, because it sounds like a very negative thing to say, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I don't know, there just wasn't anything in there that really spoke to me or grabbed me. I feel like this theme of like, are we living in a simulation? Like, is this the Matrix kind of thing? Once I realized that that was like gonna be a major theme, I was expecting more of that, and then there was a lot more focus on time travel, and the sort of trope about like, you know, if you go back in time and change something, it changes something in the future. And I feel like every time travel related book or movie, that's kind of the whole point, is that something changes and they have to go back and fix it or whatever. So that wasn't really anything new. I think if you're a fan of time travel, go for it. If you are not, ultimately, like I said, it was the 3 out of 5. But if you're gonna read Emily St. John Mandel, I would actually recommend Station 11. I haven't read The Glass Castle. I know that's another really popular one. If you guys really enjoyed that one, let me know in the comments. That way I can read that one next, possibly. So I'm on to my next book, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.